Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenter, Brian from Indexed.io, and we'll go ahead and get started. Just give Brian a second to turn his camera and mic on. There he is.
There I am.
All right. I'll go ahead and get out of your way and let you get going, Brian.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, everyone, for joining on a productive Wednesday, I'm sure. We're going to be talking about some eDiscovery workflows and how AI is ideally going to enhance that workflow. And this is also data exploratory. Not hearing anything, Greg says. Let's see, anyone else not hearing anything? Looks like that might be specific to Greg. Megan can hear me. I'm gonna chug along here. Hopefully, Greg refreshes and gets us there. Thanks, Mike. All right, so we're going to talk about eDiscovery, this whole data workflow from forensic collection, filtering, data analysis, eDiscovery, production. Okay. And I'm going to show you some examples of built-in AI technologies that are in our platform, as well as some things that are available to you, in the open market. And there's going to be tons of stuff out there now, right? But just kind of keep that in mind. We're limited on the webinar time, so we're going to show what we can and really spearhead the conversation, if nothing more. And I encourage anyone that's on today or watching this later, if you have more questions or you want to dive deeper, always reach out to me. Happy to share information, happy to talk with whomever. And like I said, we're going to look at kind of a real specific kind of niche spot, just because it'll be interesting and get through it. But there's going to be a ton of layers to this. Excellent. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And I'm going to share this. And then hopefully everybody can see this here. Okay. If anyone can give me a thumbs up and let me know that they're seeing this. Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Thank you, Daryl. All right, because I can't quite see the other side here. So this is Indexed.io. This is actually an eDiscovery platform that will take your data, ingest it, process it, make it searchable, OCR it, transcribe audio. It's going to do a ton of stuff, identify duplicates, extract email domains, and it actually has some built-in AI that we're going to talk about. So, for this purpose, I'm going to kind of demo it through, but I'm going to point out these early case assessment areas, these exploratory data areas, and these AI areas within the eDiscovery process. So let's go ahead and log in. If you set up an account here, and I recommend anyone on now or looking in the future, go to Indexed.io and sign up for an account. You get a free trial. You can kick the tires on it. You can upload your data. It's all privileged, encrypted, and protected. It's easy to use too. So I'm going to log in here. Grab my cheat on the other side here because I have a super secret password for my demo. Let's do. There we go. Sorry, guys. There. All right. Promise you, it's a lot easier if you just remember your password instead of using an external password manager. But here's our case. Where you can have multiple cases in here, so you have clients to minor details. Thanks, Megan. You can have multiple cases in here, and ideally, that could be either client-specific, case-specific, however you want to organize them. We're going to go into an individual case that I have started. Every case gets a get started screen, so if you're brand new, don't worry. We're going to walk you through with all kinds of videos and stuff, and we're going to add data to this project. So this is data that you've collected or someone's collected this data. This could be phone data, email data, file server data, Dropbox data, you name it. All types of data can be ingested in this thing. You're going to say, who does it belong to? you'll notice there's like an IntelliSign here for custodian. If I wanted a new custodian, I could just type it in there and it would pop up the next time I added data for that person. But I'm going to process some Brian, and today for fun, I'm going to do some iPhone data webinar. We'll call it webinar. We have some settings here. I'm not going to go too deep into the admin and settings, but just know a lot of this is configurable on how you specifically want to process your data. The next step is, what do I actually get the data? You can drag and drop it. You can upload it to a secure SFTP that every case gets. So, drag and drop, upload that data with your favorite, FileZilla, CyberDuck, whatever you transmit. We also connect to third-party FTP or SFTPs. AWS S3 connector. We have an email collector built in. So any IMAP-enabled account, you actually can collect the entire email box on, which is great. We do have some presets here for the popular guys, right? Dropbox connector. Everyone has a love-hate relationship with Dropbox. It's kind of a pain to get data out. So we have that secure API connection on the back end. You're still authenticating to that. That storage information lives only in the moment you need it to transfer data, and it goes away. And then we have the forensic image section, which is what we're going to do today, because I'm actually going to process some cell phone data that was collected in Celebrite. So I'm going to hit save, and through the magic, it's going to start validating that that is a Celebrite phone image and that we can handle it. And once it's valid, it's going to start processing. This is great because I can add another set of data and another collection of data, go into another case and add tons. So we like to call, we eliminate second in line syndrome. It's where I have to wait for this to finish to start the next one. That's second in line. You can queue up all your collections and have them running in 1 or 100 cases, wherever you want to do. The other neat thing is this collection will auto scale out. So if you have a smaller set of data, you're probably going to use the default, gosh, I think it's like 120 some gigs RAM. I mean, it's a monster processing environment, but let's say you're processing a terabyte. This thing would automatically recognize that size and the needs and scale itself up. So you're always getting like super fast processing. And anecdotally, we processed 50 terabytes of data in about a week and a half. And that's insane. And that's extracting text and metadata, recursively extracting attachments and container files, identifying dupes on a global custodian collection level, OCRing images, transcribing audio and video, identifying system files, making a PDF, everything, doing PII scan, which I think is good for the exploratory stuff we're going to talk about here. That's identifying credit card and social security card number patterns, extracting out email domains, and like another 30 things. We do all that stuff in quote processing. So the idea there is to give you as much information when you're ready to actually digest it and look through it that we can. And so we do that through initial charts and graphs. And this is that early case assessment or data exploratory that we're going to talk about and dive into. So we have what we call a pre-processing overview. Most of these platforms are going to have something that kind of says what data did we start with, right? And I call these warm and fuzzy because if I'm expecting a terabyte and I see 100 gigs, then I know all my data is not in there. But if I'm expecting 100 gigs and I see a terabyte, I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? The real magic kind of comes after post-processing. We actually know stuff about the data. And when I say we, I'm using it as me and the software, me and the platform, not, me and this, or, I'm not a hamster behind the wheel here. This is the proverbial we. So what can we tell you now that we've processed your data? And what can you scheme from this? What case assessment can you get from this? Some of it's going to be high level, but really important, like just simple extension breakdown and file categorization. What's my data look like, right? Do I have a ton of system files? Do I have a ton of archive files? Do I have a ton of email or PDFs or images or music or audio? And these are all interactive, by the way. So if I were to, click on this, it would pull up all of that data, okay? We also break down collection and custodian. So, if you need to see who makes up most of your project, and you can kind of see that I do. Surprising, it's my project. As I scroll down, we're going to give you timeline views. Again, data analysis. What can we scheme from this? Well, one, we know that we're missing a rather large chunk of data here, or maybe we're not missing it, but we don't have any. So what happened between 2009 and 2013? And we know this almost immediately. We can see this trend here, and we can get an answer. And especially if you have boots on the ground and you're actively collecting, this saves you a lot of time, a lot of travel, and what have you. Now, there's an answer for this. It could be that we didn't collect that data. It could be that data doesn't exist. It could be the archive failed through those years, or we've swapped platforms and we don't have access to that data anymore, or this employee didn't start till after a certain period of time. Therefore, the stuff that we see in the past has been shared with them, but it's not uncommon to see gaps. There's an answer, and what we're trying to do for ourselves and those folks that are our team and clients or whatever that may be, is we're trying to provide that analysis and those questions up and early. And that's important because the quicker we get in front of some of these issues, like, hey, we need to recollect or we need to come up with an answer in this, the more runway we have to get that answer, and we're not rushed in the witching hour. The worst thing that could happen is after you've produced to the other side or you're kind of finalizing, someone comes back and says, wow, we don't have any data between 2009 and 2013. I've seen that in the past lives. I've been doing this for over 2 decades now. I've seen a bunch of stuff. Those are not fun moments when you're on a team or you see that, hey, what happened there? Now that's why, I point that specifically out, because it's so apparent here. If we scroll down, and by the way, you can also use these. They're interactive. So if you wanted to everything prior to a certain date is irrelevant, you can actually pull that data and then bulk tag it as out of date range, for instance. Okay. Email domains. I talked about, we do that during extracting email domains. How are we going to use that in data exploratory or data analysis? Real easy. We're going to be able to see abclawfirm.com. We're going to bucket that up as potentially privileged. We can see fantasyfootball.com. We're going to bucket those up as highly irrelevant, or suspected irrelevant, or however we want to create those buckets. And that's what this segment, or what your segment of any tool should do, is give you that visual organization, because we're very visual creatures, and it's easy for us to digest this list and see, well, most of my stuff is from Gmail, but I have this Hotmail account. We need to explore that. Why is this lingering in there? We visually can digest this really quick and easy. And it's easy to, again, communicate back to the team through these visualizations. But again, fully interactive, meaning I can click on it and bulk tag it and put it in the bins I want. System tags, whatever solution you use, it should be proactively helping you, and we call that system tags. So what are system tags? Any key event or key attribute is monitored and tagged by the system. So what's a key event? Someone exported an item, someone redacted an item, someone printed an item, all those kind of key events that happen, right? What's a key attribute? It's a duplicate. A key attribute is that didn't have text. Even though we're extracting text and OCRing and transcribing audio, video, if it's a picture of someone on the beach, you're not going to have text, and we want you to be aware of that. Your tool should tell you, hey, if I'm doing searches, here's a big chunk of stuff that no matter what search I do and how I refine it, it's not going to hit because it just doesn't have text. But it still may be highly important to your workflow. So system tags are great because these are passively happening, and whether you use them or not use them, they're there and available at any point in your workflow. So now, as we go through, here's our first introduction to AI. This is actually natural language processing, and that's a subset of AI. Natural language processing actually analyzes the text of the data, and then it pulls out things, recognizes things like locations, organizations, persons, times, titles, dates, events. Why is this important? One, it passively happens. And you're going to hear that word a lot, passively. And the importance of your tool, whatever exploratory tool being passive, the importance of it being passive is that it takes some of that initial burden off you as an administrator of the data. It's providing this to you so that you can quickly bucket up and know where to continue your best efforts, as opposed to, should I be searching for Pete or Peter? Should I be searching for William or Willie? or will. Excuse me. This passively gives you this information because it's extracting it out of traditionally unstructured data, like the actual body text of an email. Metadata, very easy to kind of get your hands wrapped around, right? Person A emailed person B, person A's email, person B's email. That's a very, this date and time and the sent date, this subject line, CC, those types of things, or file name. Those are all very structured data elements that we can organize and dissect, and I'll show you some of that too. But the NLP is this artificial intelligence layer that's giving you this newer insight into kind of hidden data. Could you get there? Yeah, you could find that it's Pete and not Peter, but the idea of a good tool is it's putting it right out in front of you and taking that heavy lift off. So we'll get back to named entities here as we go further in the analysis, but this is the first step of an AI solution kind of integrated during your process with the goal of helping you organize and bucket this up into stuff you like, stuff you don't like. And then we have communication chart. This is, most of the data that's out there in our world is communicated: email, text, voicemail, etc. And even through email, the attachment, right, is maybe the business doc, but it's still communicated. And this is just a nice way to kind of see who's talking to who. And again, these are all interactive. So if I click on them, I can pull up these documents. I haven't gotten to that point, but at any point you have a list here with documents, you can simply click on it and pull up that document view to actually see the content of it, as well as its metadata and any coding that someone may have applied. This is an example of a phone conversation. So we process mobile phone data. This phone conversation was extracted, so it has all of the identifier phone information forensically in the top left, like serial number, operating system, custodian information, as well as the bubbles back and forth, which are always great. The one thing that's neat is I kind of included this on purpose. This MP3 doesn't look very good in an image. So anytime in our platform we create these snippets that have these embedded elements, we're actually going to pull the original embedded element as an attachment to it. So that chain of custody is pushed through from collection all the way through production or to the end game. And that's important because yes, there's Peter, but this picture of the seagull looks great. But if I click on that, you're going to see it has its own metadata. Here's the original actual attachment. This picture, maybe not exciting, but if this was a signed contract, like a PDF, it's going to have all of that PDF metadata, when it was created, when it was modified, what created it, all that fun stuff. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I gotta love the seagull pictures. I took that. My wife ran a marathon. I'm not a marathon runner, but my goal was to take pictures, so I got the bird. So in our platform, another key element is getting this information out. With one click of a button, you're actually going to get all of the underlying CSV data that's used to make up all these charts and graphs, as well as a pretty PDF of this material. Again, why is that important? You don't want a platform that locks it in. If it's locked in, it's not usable for you as usable, and for anyone else on your team or in your group. That's why it should allow you to get that information out quick. I know a lot of folks in this group are very technical. I know they're data analytics, forensic analytics. That's their core group. So having access to that raw CSV data is really important, because then you can take that and use it into other workflows that you've already developed and use and are currently using. Okay, so let's dive in here. On our platform, probably the next step you'd want to do is search, right? So if I search for the word Brian, I will go something easy here. It's going to pull up all the documents that have the word Brian on it. When I click on it, a traditional workflow is then I'm going to make a decision whether this document is responsive, privileged, not privileged, hot, around some topic. Today, I'm actually going to, what was my tag? My tag was, I made a special tag for you guys today because we're going to work some magic on it. My tag was potentially responsive. So if I tag this, as potentially responsive. I'm going to show you some AI magic that's going to happen specific with this document. That's kind of a rinse and repeat thing here where you're reviewing and tagging. Now you can bulk tag, which initial ECA is probably going to be more of the line. But I do also want to show you that it supports audio and video, which is important.
Hi, Brian. I wanted to call you.
Right? You know what? This is also potentially responsive. In fact, in addition to potentially responsive, we're going to tag it as, what's my other tag, my special tag? Where did it go? Topic. It was topic important, right? I have hundreds of tags in here, which is why I got to get weird and creative on demos. But I'm going to tag that as topic important as well. So the traditional workflow here is search, bucket them up, review them, tag them, make your notes, all that fun stuff. That's actually, that workflow has been around since the beginning of time, and it really it came over from a traditional paper review where you would look at a paper and you would flag it or put a sticky on it that it was responsive, or you'd make a copy of it and put it in a responsive folder. And you would go to the next one, and you would go to the next one. You would make these decisions literally document by document, page by page. This platform still supports that, and really 90+% of the out there it still works that way, and it's because they want eyes on everything, and they want to make sure that they're identifying everything that's privileged or responsive and all the fun things. But where we're at in the industry as a whole, including all the way from like the collections moment forward, is that a lot of this can be augmented with AI, and it doesn't mean it replaces it. I don't think we're going to be there for quite some time. So, you know, the folks that are out there, like, you know, they took our jobs, and the AI's going to rule it. We still have what's called the human loop. Even though we're using some of these tools to passively identify groups and clusters and supervised learning and unsupervised learning, all those things, there's still a human loop element. And what that means is we're able to be more efficient in applying our decision of this is relevant, not relevant, privileged, not privileged. Maybe at some point in the future, yeah, we'll get it dialed in and everything will be hunky-dory. But right now, and I think for some time, that human element is really going to be critical. Because they're, you know, even if you're spot checking and you're going through, you still need eyes on this stuff. It's just not quite there yet. It's a tool. Okay, so we're searching, you know, searching for things, coming back and rinse and repeat. Like I said, where we're going to pull up, you know, here's a phone text message, and we're going to tag that as topic important. Okay, now these are phone text messages. This is how the industry kind of likes presenting them, because they shoehorn it into an email format. We actually hated that. We don't like the text format. We actually, if you find it that way, we could still do it, but we actually go into the conversation view to where you can actually scroll this, or your end users or your group can go through this just like they would on a phone, right? And then kind of be like, oh, actually, even though I hit on that, my conversations that I think is important started here and it finished, you know, here, and then I can extract that conversation out. That's important because you're constantly funneling this data down to the highest relevance set, all the way from collection, where you literally, depending on the case, you may collect, you know, slack space, that deleted space where no file full file data technically lives, but file bits live. That's, you know, deleted data, all the way up to the production. So we're going through every byte possible down to here may be the 100 documents that we really, really, really care about. So so Brian, where does AI fit into this, right? Well, a couple things. One, if I pull up analytics, it's going to passively give me word cloud type efforts around persons and dates and organizations and what have you within this document that I'm looking at. And why is that important? Well, this one isn't as exciting to look at, but if I have all the people and all the places and all the time, I get a real quick view of who, when, and where, right? I don't have to digest 1,000-page. I can be like, oh, it's between these two financial institutions on these dates and, you know, in these areas. We also can look at similarity. So similarity is going to find items that are like the one you're looking at contextually. And why is that important? It's important because we are very rooted in technical search terms. We're still rooted in this in the workflow, meaning I'm going to find everything that has the word Colorado within 10 words of fishing. Okay, you can tell I'm from Colorado and I love the outdoors, right? Colorado within 10 words of fishing. Well, that's great. But what if I wanted, anglers, or I wanted, fly fishing, which is a combo word, right? It's not going to pick up on that. The contextual, the contextual search AI element of similar resources is going to find that data for you. Now, this is on an individual document. This really can be applied also to larger sets of documents. Okay, so when you're exploring data, you're really using it on larger sets of data. When you're on an individual item, you're kind of then saying, I really think this is important, and therefore, I want you to find other items very specific to this one. Now, I tagged, let's see, let's pull up all my collections here. I tagged a couple items, and I tagged it with topic. And we're going to get in here and pull it up. Tags, topic. Now, I tagged these two items. Now, I have on this case, and we're going to check back on this, okay? I have on this case an AI algorithm that's going to find items that are like this item contextually and other elements, and it's going to tag it. And it's going to tag those. Now, why is that important? Well, if I'm finding important documents, then I want to proactively find other items that are like it, right? I don't want to have to necessarily go in and click the button every time. The system should passively let me know. Now, the other item, I think the other tag I used was potentially responsive. So I'm going to pull up those items, and we're going to see, and again, I'm just kind of pulling these. This one actually executed. So, I only tagged one of these, but it went through my whole system and found all of these other items that are like the one I tagged. So it passively, and if we pull one up here and we look at the coding, it tagged it as AI potential responsive, which is how I configured it. I said in this system, hey, anything that I tag potentially responsive, I want you to go out and you find other stuff that's like what I'm looking at here and tag it as AI potentially privileged. Now, you can configure this however is needed. But again, the passive communication back to you, it's important. It gets rid of some of the very stringent guardrails we have with just pure text search, because now it's finding it's more than just more like this, but it's finding other, it's learning kind of what you want here. And it's going to pull that information back into you. Okay. Ultimately, you're going to push this data through, we'll review it, and it can go on to the client. They can do whatever, or you can take your next steps with it, run reports on it, all kinds of fun stuff to organize it and take the next steps. But these AI tools, again, and I'm going to beat it into the ground, passively are going to give you this information. Now, I am going to toggle over here real quick because this is our tool, and I'll come back to it because I love it and I want to show you guys how it works. But I do want to show you another tool here that I use occasionally, and we actually can assist you with this workflow and these things as well, okay? So this tool right here is actually going to cluster a text set. We have it, this is a visual of what's happening, but we actually have that ability to run that on this text in your project as well, okay? I just toggle over here because it's a good visual to show you what's happening. In essence, we're going to queue up all your text files. We're going to have some settings on it, like clustering settings and whatever. We're not going to go necessarily into those deep woods here. But when we run this, it's going to analyze that stuff. You're going to see down here, it's tokenizing it. All kinds of AI magic is happening here. And I have a real small set. I think it's like 1,100 documents or something. So I'm going to
Brian?
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we maybe aren't seeing the correct screen.
Uh-oh.
Right
Thank
now
you.
we're still seeing the tag explorer. So if you were showing something else, I just wanted to make you
No,
aware.
that would be bad. Let's see here. Here we go. How's that?
Success.
All right, well, let's rewind. Here is another tool, and again, the idea here, and this is going to make a lot more sense now that you can see it, is I'm showing you the kind of real simple workflow on how these AI technologies kind of work. Okay, we do this behind the scenes, and we can implement this for you on any case material and what have you. But again, this is exemplary example of what's happening. So I'm going to click process this, and it's going to run. You see the spinning wheel, and actually at the bottom down here, it has the tokenizing it. What we're doing here, in essence, is analyzing through machine learning, which is another AI workflow and technology. And there's a lot of how it's used and what purposes kind of gives it a different label. But we're actually going to push this through. And in the end, what it's doing is it's analyzing term frequency, it's analyzing length of text, it's analyzing, removing stop words. And so we then can take that analysis. For instance, if I go to visualizations, let's go to clustering and visualizations. There we go. And we can see that our text documents have already been categorized, and with its analysis, its machine learning analysis, figured out that this group has similarities, this group has similarities, et cetera, et cetera. This is called unsupervised learning, okay? Because we didn't do anything to it. We didn't tell it what this cluster is or how to, what it means to be inside this cluster. We just said, you go tell us what these groups are and run it for me, okay? We've seen clustering around. It's not necessarily new. I think what's new is the volume at which it can be ran, the accessibility at which it can be, received. Meaning, I just ran it locally on my machine here, and then you can also run it within, on the text files, like within our Index.io platform. There's a ton of information here. I'm not going to go super deep in it, but if you're familiar at all with machine learning and clustering, this is going to make a lot of sense for you on how it decided what was related to what. Again, would love to take this kind of part of the conversation more direct if someone had questions about it. But as an example, these clusters now can be pumped back into, and now that I know I need to stop sharing and reshare, can be pumped back into your active data analysis tool like ours, Index.io, and then now they can be grouped to where you can say, hey, I've reviewed them, I've not reviewed them, and you can chug through these clusters. Now the neat thing is, if I go through here and I determine that this cluster is topic important, right? Because everything in this cluster is really around this topic important, or it's around Colorado and fly fishing, or it's around bankruptcy, or whatever it happens to be. I can now reinforce this cluster with a decision. I can help it. All it knows before that is that these documents are similar. They should be in the same bucket. What I'm telling it is, hey, I labeled this bucket. Now everything in this bucket has a label, and then the passive AI will pick it up and say, he tagged this bucket. What else may be similar, or what else needs to be in here? So now you start to get Venn diagrams of documents that are maybe in multiple buckets, but they've clustered up, more importantly, into their individuals. And you can communicate that, and it's not as black and white, or it doesn't have to be on your data analysis. You can use this information to bridge these very stringent guardrail search and filter criterias. Okay. Now, what I really don't have a good display for it right now, because it's command line, and honestly, that doesn't make a really good presentation unless you love command line. Is that document interview or document collection interviews, okay? There's the ability to say, I don't know, I imagine everyone on this call has probably played around with the AI chatbots like ChatGPT and, you know, whatever your flavor is. Having that technology or that feature set integrated into your specific document collection, which by the way, we can get you there, is huge, because now instead of up here saying search for everything with the word honey in it, I can candidly interview my document set and say, you know, what are the top 10 facts about this document collection? It's a collection. Tell me who are the main players in this collection. Tell me, you know, the top 5 topics of this data collection. It's an interactive natural language query interview with your document set. And that's a game changer, okay? Oops, I'm gonna pull that down just a little bit. That's a game changer because it eliminates a very technical guardrail of it has to be the exact word spelled the exact way. It also eliminates the one-on-one with the documents to kind of get you there, because you're now doing this in bulk on your collection, okay? You're interviewing this document as a whole. Again, these are advanced tools, so they're not going to be in this particular UI. We would work with you and your team to interface with that, but there is a passive transfer of that. I like what it found, tag these items with that, or bucket these items up so that you can transfer that knowledge into the platform. We kind of built it that way because you may be working in multiple platforms. And it's, you know, we're true full transparency, we're still evolving it to solve people's and groups' problems. But the document interview component, it is a critical element of the AI world that we're experiencing in real time. And I'm going to pull up because I want to make sure I get the definition it really incorporates RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Okay, that's a key phrase we can take away from this webinar. Retrieval augmented generation. And the importance of retrieval augmented generation, which I understand why they call it RAG now, saying that 3 times in a row. The importance of RAG is it pulls our own data into these AI models, okay? It allows us to not just rely on these large language models, these LLMs that like Meta has with Llama, and DeepSeek is the big one, right? DeepSeek was released and is out there. You can run DeepSeek local, by the way, but through RAG, we're able to incorporate your data, your work product, or your collection, you know, target set into the responses. Now that's why it's important. That's why it works for us, because if I just went on ChatGPT and said, you know, tell me everything you know about this case, it's not going to know, because that's one, it was trained years ago. And 2, it doesn't have the same access to the information that you have. So with RAG, we're giving it access to these documents and saying, knowing what you know on these large language models, and more importantly, prioritizing and know what you know about this set of data I just gave you. Answer these questions for me. What is this document about? What is this collection about? You know, is Brian McHugh's a key player in this football team or, you know, company or whatever? And it'll analyze that data and it'll give you responses. It really is magical. Yes, and that's a good point, Megan. If you guys have any questions, please post them in the chat, because we're going to do questions kind of here at the end. I always like ending on the retrieval augmented generation, because I think that really is the magic component of this new life cycle we're seeing. In addition, you know, I strongly, if you want to play around with these tools, like you can sign up for a free trial of Index.io. I think it gives you like 5 gigs to kick around in. We also give you, by the way, if you sign up for a free trial, you don't have to bring your own data. If you go to the IIO drive, there's an example PST. It's an Enron PST that we give you to play with. So you don't even have to put your own data in here. Play around with it. See what kind of analysis you get out of it. See what that NLP does. Have fun with it and really kick the tires. The other item I would say that I would recommend you kind of play is there's two. And I'm going to stop sharing here, hopefully, and share it with you, is the tool I brought up. The tool that I like to use, let me pull it here. Oop, where are you? There we go. It's called Rapid Miner. You can go online to Rapid Miner, download it, play with it. It's lots of YouTubes and stuff. It's a tool. It's outside of us. We're going to do stuff very, 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 very similar to this on our platform, but it'll let you kind of play with your own data and customize it. And there's tons of YouTubes and tutorials. The other one is Neime, K-N-I-M-E. They're pretty much the same kind of tool. Folks tend to find one over the other more refreshing. So, I love showing you what we can do in our tool. And obviously, I hope you try it out and maybe it's something that can fit and solve problems with you. But I also just like sharing generic data analysis and, data exploratory tools. And these two are really slick again, because it's, if I come back to my configuration, for instance, and I decided, well, really I want 8 clusters. I want to cluster this up. And there's a whole science about how to determine what the best cluster sizes are and all that stuff. And I hope I'm sharing this one. Yeah, I am sharing this. It's a fun tool to play with. It's a really good, it's a powerful tool. And if you, depending on the size, you can get there with it. Like I said, would love for you guys to leverage us in any way you can at Index.io. We're passionate about this, and we have teams every day get through these big data projects, and how do I get my hands wrapped around them, and we can apply a lot of layers of these AI tools. Yeah, let's just take a look and see what this did. So you can see now we have 8 clusters in here. So as a whole, I'm going to kind of wrap up on that. I'm going to stop sharing. Kind of turn it over to questions. I don't know if anyone has any Q&A for us. So Alexandra says, how is the data fed into the AI model secured if feeding proprietary sensitive data into the model? That's the RAG. You're spot on, Alexandra. So the retrieval augmented generation takes your local stuff, and I would highly recommend using a local AI or using a closed circuit AI. So like our platform is closed circuit. We're not sending data out to ChatGPT or OpenText AI or any of that. It's actually our own engines locked off from the world, right? And so we're augmenting it by adding your data to it. So we're leveraging the big LLMs, but they're local. They're not going out. So everything is tight and secure. Nothing's getting like updated across anything. We're just doing an analysis and then updating you back. So, but to your point, and Alexandra, I would highly be suspicious of using anything like a website based. Now that's weird. We're website based, but you're also, everything is privileged, encrypted, at rest, in transit. And we're specialized project with your data. We're not like a Google or OpenText or OpenAI, excuse me, that will claim ownership to that. There's no ownership with us. With the one I showed you with Rapid Miner, that was running local. So if you're really paranoid, which I don't blame you, disconnect your internet, run it local, and you're absolutely not touching anything outside of your own environment. And you said, additionally, how is the data stored and how is it accessed to the data controller? In our platform, we actually leverage AWS S3 storage in our own VPNs, or our own locked off system. All data is stored encrypted. All data is in transit encrypted. I think we are actually releasing multi-factor. We have multi-factor in the tool now, but we're forcing everyone to do multi-factor here in, I think, a week. and we get audited, third-party audits, if not monthly, quarterly. So the data is stored in our platform, encrypted, and then it's accessed because you have a user authenticated token that just like your bank account, it'll allow you to access it in that space. And if your connection expires, then you have to re-authenticate. So those are great questions, by the way. If you're interested and you have questions about the security specifically of the Indexed.io, definitely reach out to me. We have more white papers and security papers and audit results and all that fun stuff that we're happy to share with you and walk you through and get any of those responses clarified. So great concern. I think it should be concern number one. It is for us. So happy to share those details and make sure that you're comfortable with that. And it's one of the reasons we put that Enron PST up there, because I know at the beginning when you're kind of kicking the tires, you're like, where am I putting this data, right? And I totally respect that. Let's have a conversation about that, and we can address any of your security concerns, hopefully, and get you using your own data. That's the target. So I think we'll have probably, right, Megan, we'll have a link to how to contact me, or is there a way to kind of loop back and reach out to me if anyone has questions after this?
Sure. We can post a link in the chat. We can add a link to the email we send out with the recording.
Awesome.
If you're in the Cyber Social Hub, they can connect with you at Cyber Social Hub. Yeah,
that's step one. Cyber Social Hub. You're going to see us on there. I did see it actually, now that you mentioned it, in the chat, the website and all that fun stuff. So hopefully this brought a little bit of space into how AI is being leveraged in the eDiscovery workflow. Know that there's rapid growth. I mean, it's changed month to month. We're living in, like I said, we're living in some really, really exciting times, and I think we'll look back at this kind of era similarly as we look back to when we discovered we could split the atom. Like legitimately, I think it's going to just completely, and it has started changing the world, and it's going to integrate with workflows like we see here with our collection, forensic analysis, data discovery, all the way through production. So awesome. Thanks everyone for your time.
Alrighty, thanks everyone for your time. We're going to go back to the table view. So thanks for your time. We'll send the recording out in an email once it's ready. And thank you, Brian, for sharing all of this great information.
Absolutely. Thanks, Megan. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.